Fright Night Vault. Audio horror for nighttime listening.
Welcome, Fright Night Vault listeners. The house had always been too quiet. Its walls held no laughter, only the hollow sound of footsteps echoing down narrow halls. The family who lived there wore their smiles like masks, polished and presentable for the world beyond the front door. But inside, something unseen pressed its weight against them, waiting for a fracture in their carefully built facade. It began with whispers that didn't belong, a faint murmur behind the mother's shoulder as she washed the dishes, a breath brushing against the father's ear as he locked up for the night. The daughters heard it too, soft laughter threading through the vents, slithering from room to room, searching for the weakest place to settle. The air grew heavier with each passing day, thick with the scent of rot no window could clear. The family, once perfectly rehearsed in their roles, began to stumble. Words sharpened into arguments, affection curdled into suspicion. Something had stepped inside their home, and it would not stay still. At first, they blamed one another. The mother accused her husband of whispering cruel things in her sleep, words so sharp they left her trembling in the morning. He swore he hadn't spoken, but the daughters said they'd heard his voice pacing the halls at night. The husband, in turn, began waking with bruises blooming along his ribs, as if invisible hands had gripped him while he slept. The eldest daughter started drawing faces no one recognized, smeared in charcoal across her bedroom walls. When asked, she said she didn't remember drawing them. Her sister's toys moved on their own, stacked into strange, impossible towers that toppled the moment anyone else entered the room. And yet, the true horror lay not in the things they witnessed, but in how quickly each of them changed. Their voices warped into snarls at the smallest provocation. Their eyes grew hollow, ringed with shadows even after sleep. They began to mimic each other in ways that felt wrong, mother speaking in the exact cadence of her youngest child, the father's laugh bending into a pitch that wasn't his. The spirit did not stay in one place. It slipped between them like a sickness, hollowing them out, wearing them one by one like a mask. The house itself seemed to pulse with their unraveling. Doors slammed without touch, mirrors trembled in their frames, and every corner of the home hummed with a low vibration, like the building itself had taken on a heartbeat. One night, as the storm clawed at their windows, the family gathered in the living room, each of them too afraid to sleep apart. Lightning split the sky, and in its flash, they saw it. Something standing among them. Not a shadow, not a reflection. A figure that flickered like firelight, its form shifting as if made of all four of them stitched together. Mother's jaw, father's shoulders, the daughter's eyes blinking out of place, blinking too fast, too slow. The smell of iron and ash choked the room. Then it lunged. The mother collapsed to the floor, writhing as her own voice echoed back at her in screams she hadn't made. The father clawed at his face, swearing someone else was inside his skull. The daughters clutched each other, only to realize the hands they held were not their own. Fingers too long, nails too sharp. It did not want to haunt them. It wanted to become them. The storm raged for hours, but inside the house, time bent in cruel ways. What should have been minutes stretched into eternity, each second gnawing at the family's sanity. The mother was the first to rise from the floor, but when she lifted her head, her eyes glowed with something that wasn't hers. She spoke in the father's voice, deep, broken, dragging the words through her teeth. He screamed at the sound, clutching his chest as though the breath was being stolen from him, strand by strand. The daughters tried to flee, but every hallway bent back into the living room. Every door they opened led them deeper inside the same four walls. The youngest screamed, her voice piercing like shattered glass. Yet, when she covered her mouth, the scream did not stop. It echoed still, pouring from somewhere else in the room. As hours crawled by, the entity played its game. It swapped them, piece by piece, the father's hand twitching with the nervous tick of his eldest child, the mother's lullaby spilling from the youngest's lips, even as tears of blood carved tracks down her cheeks. At times, they weren't sure who was speaking at all. Was it one of them, or the thing inside, stretching its voice across them like skin? And then, the house fell quiet. The storm ended. Dawn split the sky with pale light. But inside, silence was heavier than any thunder. The neighbors, worried by the flickering lights and endless screams, came knocking. No answer. They called the police. The officers broke down the door. What they found inside was a family seated around the living room, perfectly still. Their faces were expressionless, drained of all recognition, like mannequins waiting to be assigned new features. When spoken to, they all turned their heads at once, in perfect unison, and smiled. One by one, they began to speak. The mother's mouth opened first, but the voice that came was not her own. Then the father joined in, followed by the daughters, until the room was filled with a chorus of voices layered upon each other. Male, female, child, stranger. Too many to belong to one family. Too many to belong to one house. The officers fled. They never came back. The house was condemned, the family taken elsewhere. But wherever they were placed, the same thing happened again. New neighbors heard the laughter through the vents. New walls trembled as the storm of voices returned. It became clear the entity had never been tied to the house. It was tied to them. And still they move, from place to place, town to town, faces familiar but never quite right, smiles too wide, laughter slightly off. Some say if you meet them, you'll feel it, an echo in your own chest, as though a piece of you has already been spoken in their chorus. The vault warns you, if you hear more than one voice when only one person is speaking, you may already be part of it. If you enjoy these types of horror audio stories, just add a like, comment, share, and subscribe. See you on the next one. Subscribe to be the first to hear it. We upload daily. If you have a story of your own, feel free to leave it in the comments below. You never know, the next story could be yours. See you on the next video.